Predict, pick, and prevail in your fantasy football leagues with Nick Giacobbe and Nick Cap. From breakouts to busts, superstars to sleepers, these are the guys that will help you achieve fantasy glory. This is the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast.
Welcome everybody to Week 7. Welcome to our live show. Welcome to the PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast, where we give you our predictions, our picks, with the hopes that we help you prevail throughout Week 7 and the rest of the fantasy football season. I'm your host, Nick Giacobbe. Joining me is Nick Cap. Nick, how are we feeling? It's Week 7, basically almost at the halfway point of the fantasy football season if you're including the playoffs, but about halfway through the regular season. So how are we feeling going into Week 7? We got some buys and some other stuff going on this week, so it's going to be fun.
A lot of big bye weeks, a lot of monster teams that are not playing. So very interesting. I think we have Rams, Bills, Eagles, like three of the top teams, a lot of flex plays there.
Yeah, the top three receivers in your fantasy football league, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, and Justin Jefferson, they're all on bye. And I have all of them. I have two of them in one league, and I have Diggs in two other leagues. So I am personally missing my best wide receiver in just about every possible league. But that's okay. That's why we're here. We're here to help you guys out with your bye weeks, here to help you out with your injuries. A lot of stuff to talk about. Christian McCaffrey is playing. What does that mean for him and the other 49ers running backs? Do you play any of the Carolina running backs? The Ravens are going with the committee. So a lot of stuff to talk about today, and we're going to get into it. If this is your first time listening to us, thank you so much. We do this live show every single week. It's going to be at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. YouTube and Facebook is PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. Twitter is PrimeTimeFFPod. We go for about an hour, hour and a half, depending on, how many questions are being asked, how interactive you guys are. We'll definitely go for the hour. If you guys are continuing to ask us questions, we can go to 10 o'clock most of the time, depending on our schedules. Aside from that, we do recorded versions of this show every week, 4 times a week on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays. And those shows you can find on all audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating and a review. Really would appreciate that. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show like you're doing right now, go to our YouTube channel, PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast. That's where each episode is uploaded. If you're on YouTube, please give us a like. Drop a like on this video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, drop a like on that too. We'd appreciate that. And also keep interacting with us on social media, PrimeTime FFPod on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And then on PrimeTime Fantasy Podcast on YouTube and Facebook. All right, let's start going game by game here. And if you have any questions, ask them at any time, and we'll answer them after we finish up our point. But for now, let's go game by game and talk about the games, some injuries, fantasy plays, etc. Start off with the Atlanta Falcons versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Hayden Hurst with a groin injury and Jamar Chase with a hip injury. And T. Higgins with the ankle injury were not on the final injury report. They are good to go. So that is all we have injury-wise in this game. Nick, who are some fantasy plays that you might like in this one?
That Atlanta secondary, it has improved a lot, but I mean, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, you're always going to love them. You're going to love those weapons. I do think Hayden Hurst is a sneaky play as he is going out there this week. I think he's been very solid the last few weeks with only one off week. So I think you could trust him. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game on the Bengals side of the ball. And we know the deal with the Atlanta Falcons. They're not getting the ball down the field. They're not getting it to their top weapons. So as long as that's not happening, I can't see myself starting any Atlanta Falcon at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's going to be a big game for the Bengals. I think you play both your Bengals receivers. And if you've been, waiting on that T. Higgins game, it's been a couple weeks since he scored over like 15 fantasy points. So if you've been waiting on that, I think this is the game where you could possibly get that. On the Falcon side, I really don't want to play any Falcon. I have to play Kyle Pitts in a league, and he's kind of touchdown or bust. But aside from that, I don't want to play Drake London. It's a bad matchup. The Bengals defense has been pretty stout, especially in the second half. They haven't allowed a second half touchdown. So I really don't want to play any Falcons. I'm not excited to. And the running backs is running back by committee. So it's a messy situation over there. All right, we got our first question. We love questions. Brett Long, morning, fellas. Thanks for the Twitter follow this AM. Is Cam Akers worth dropping for Isaiah? I don't know how to say his last name. Pacheco. I don't think so. The Chiefs have a committee over there, and they do like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I honestly wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs ended up with Cam Akers. They're a team that could be in the running for a running back, and it seems like Akers has played his last game with the Rams. So I don't actually love dropping Akers right now unless you have to fill that position. I don't think Pacheco is going to do you any more than Cam Akers will in 3 weeks. I can't see Akers remaining around for the rest of the season, so he's going to get traded somewhere. And whoever trades for him is going to want him. They're going to want to use him. So if Akers ends up being a Chief or a Bill or there's other teams that may want him out there that may actually use him. So I think Akers has more value as a potential running back one rather than Pacheco, who I don't think is going to become the running back one. I think they like Clyde, and then he's still playing behind Jerick McKinnon as well.
I don't know if you saw the news this morning, but they did practice Pacheco all week as the Chiefs running back one. So
okay, so that's why I missed that news. I was
the rumor mill is that Pacheco has a chance to take over as RB1 this week. For me, I do think he is the better stash. The offense is better in Kansas City than it is for the Rams. They're getting the ball down the field a lot more. They're getting in positions to score a lot more. And outside of this Rams matchup and another matchup in Denver, outside of the San Fran matchup and a matchup in Denver, most of the rest of their season is against teams that aren't good against the run. So there's a lot of upside in playing Pacheco if he is to boom. And usually this is the time of the year where you get your league winner off the waiver wire. You're never really sure who it's going to be, but taking a flyer on the RB1 for the number one offense in football definitely has its upside.
All right. From Nick Day, what's going on, guys? Pick 2 for the bye week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Deontay Johnson, Romeo Doubs, Drake London. First off, I like playing Deontay Johnson just about every week. I know he hasn't gotten in the end zone just yet, but he's still getting like 10 plus targets every week, which amounts to about 6 receptions and 50 yards. So he's still getting you double-digit fantasy points. Just could really use that touchdown or 100-yard game. So I do like playing Deontay Johnson. For your second one, I don't love a lot of these matchups, but I think I'll go with Donovan Peoples-Jones. The Ravens' defense has been horrendous against wide receivers. They've been bottom 3 the entire season, basically. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a boom-bust candidate, but I think this is a game where he could potentially boom, considering how bad that secondary is.
I agree on the play for Deontay Johnson. I think I'd go Romeo Doubs instead. I do think the Packers are going to come out swinging. And I do think that Allen Lazard and Romeo Doubs have great matchups. They're going up against the
Commanders.
I always forget because they changed their team too many times. But they're going up against I want to say 4th worst team to the wide receiver position. So Doubs has a perfect matchup. Lazard has a perfect matchup. And Aaron Rodgers is going to have no problem throwing against that defense. They don't generate much of a pass rush, which has been what Rodgers has struggled with, but yeah.
All right. And Brett says, thanks for the assessment. We're always happy to give you our assessment. Been troubled by Akers so far, and the uncertainty is where he ends up. Yeah, it's something to worry about, but I don't know. I've never been somebody to really roster the Chiefs running backs besides Kareem Hunt. So I just don't see Pacheco getting a ton of work to where he's going to really produce as a solid running back. So I'm okay with rostering him, but I think Akers could really end up being a running back one somewhere if somebody wants him, whereas Pacheco, I think, is still going to be competing for targets and stuff the entire season. I mean, Clyde's not had a bad season, and if they're moving off of him, that just tells me they're just almost going to ride the hot hand every week, and you're never really going to know what to do. So what's up, guys? Or what's up, Deshaun? Deshaun says, what's up, guys? What's up, Deshaun? Nice to see you every single Sunday. I know you'll have some questions for us at some point. From Notorious Fan, Flex 1, Juju, Pollard, or Gallup? What do you got there, Nick?
That's a good one.
You were a Juju owner at one point.
I was a Juju owner, but I do have him on my bust team this week. I do have I would have had Michael Gallup on my all boom team had I not had Dak and Ezekiel Elliott. I think I would play Gallup and take advantage of the upside of that Lions matchup this week. I think that's
I said that on Twitter to somebody. I think I would take advantage of that as well. Juju has a really bad matchup against the 49ers. They've been number 1 against basically everything in the league. And then Pollard's going to be the backup. Dak's going to be back. Zeke plays much better with Dak. I think Gallup's your best play here. From Jacob Ander, drop Deontay Foreman to grab Pacheco. Good move. Thanks, fellas. Jacob, I'm actually doing the same thing right now in my Dynasty League. So I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Nick approves.
I approve as well.
I'll say this as well. If you picked up a Carolina running back, I don't mind dropping the Carolina running back. They haven't they haven't produced. So
like I said, I think the Carolina running back position is like Deontay Foreman. Let's assume he is the RB1 over Chuba Hubbard over there, which I do think is the case. Like, what's his upside? Is he going to be a low end RB2? He's on the worst offense in football. Like, now that McCaffrey's gone, it's the worst offense in football. Is he going to be a low end RB2? Is that his upside? No. Like, maybe. I think he's a mid end RB3 rest of the season. He's going to rank 25, 26 rest of the season. That's no upside. Not going to give you double-digit points consistently. Like, I don't love the play, but I do think based on matchup, you could give him a start. So, and I do think Pacheco, if he gets rolling in that Chiefs offense this week, he's going to be a must start.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that the Panthers, I believe I saw a stat on Twitter, have only had like 3 or 4 snaps within the like 5-yard line. So, yeah, I miss out on Pacheco in every other league because I didn't see that report. That's what I get for walking my dog and promoting the show at 8 a.m. I did miss. I didn't check my timeline at all this morning. Actually, all my news is from last night. All right, from Deshaun, do I bench Sutton this week for Pierce or Claypool in 12-man? Oh yes, you do. I don't know which Pierce you mean. Whether it's Alec Pierce or Damian Pierce, I don't care which one it is. You're benching Cortland Sutton. I am not excited to play Cortland Sutton this week in 2 leagues that I kind of have to due to bye weeks, and I've had him on my old bus team this week. It's going to be a bad one for him. It's going to be very bad. He only had like 5 points last week in a better matchup and with Russell Wilson. It's going to be bad. I'm all in on the Jets today, baby. Jets. They get that win. I have them in my pick'em pool, and the more games the Broncos lose, the better my Seahawks have a draft pick next year. So Jets. Let's jet up today. I like it. Do you have a different opinion? I don't think you do, but
no, I'd play Alec Pierce or Damian Pierce.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's Alec or Damian. Play either one. From Joe, dropped Foreman for the Gus bus. Also have Kenny Drake starting today. Good move. I don't think so. I'm actually on the Justice Hill train. I think Justice Hill is going to end up being the back that they use. They drafted Justice Hill. That's their guy. And I saw a couple stats on Twitter that in games that both have played, Justice Hill has better like advanced stats, juking, yards after contact, etc. He has every stat is better than Kenyon Drake. So even if Kenyon Drake takes the first snap, I think Justice Hill may be the back that you want for the next 4 weeks. On top of that, this is a 4-headed committee. It's the 3 running backs plus Lamar Jackson. I'm not giddy to start any of them every week unless you really desperately need to. But I'm not excited to start any of them.
So I have to desperately start them in a league because Keenan Allen probably going to be out again. And then I have Isaiah McKenzie, Devin Singletary on bye as well.
I'm going to have to desperately start them in one league, and I'm starting Justice Hill.
So I have Kenyon Drake or Deontay Foreman against Tampa Bay. That's like my last option to play.
Is Justice Hill available?
I don't believe so.
Gotcha.
No.
Yeah, I mean, in that case, you have to start Drake, but
okay,
that's what I think. At least, what do you think? For you,
that's my league. So I'm going with Drake. But
so, what would you say for Joe?
Oh,
do you have a Ravens running back you believe in?
No, I've Gus Edwards on a roster as a stash. I have Kenyon Drake. I wanted to hold him as a stash, but now he's going to be starting for me. So, guess he's not really a stash anymore.
So which one would you, if you had all 3 in your roster, which one would you want to play? Because I would play Justice Hill.
I'd play Kenyon Drake this week because he is coming off the 100-yard game. But I think moving forward it is going to be Gus Edwards.
Okay. From Callum Roger, full PPR pick 2, Williams. I'm going to need to know which Williams because there are a billion Williamses. So, Callum, if you're still watching, please let us know which Williams you have. Lockett, Christian Kirk, and Travis Etienne. I need to know which Williams you mean. It could mean Jamal Williams. If it's Mike Williams, then it's Mike Williams and Tyler Lockett for me. The Jags are going up against the Giants defense who's been spectacular, like in every phase of the game, especially against wide receivers. So I do not want to play Christian Kirk at all. So Lockett's coming off a hamstring injury, which I don't love, but he's playing. So I would go Lockett and Mike Williams, but I need to know which other Williams that is.
I would go with I'd go with Tyler Lockett as well.
It is Mike Williams.
So
it is Mike
Williams as well.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. There you go. From Nick Day, David Njoku or Dalton Schultz? Good question because they both have good matchups. I'm going to go with Njoku. He's had like 8+ targets for 4 straight weeks. I think he's at double-digit fantasy points. I think for like 3 straight weeks. He's become an important piece in that Cleveland offense. So I'll go with Njoku.
I'm on the other side of the ball. I have both in a league, and I had to make the same start-sit decision. I'm going with Dalton Schultz. As I said earlier, take advantage of that Detroit matchup. I do think Dak is going to come back and be, if not 100%, more than 100%, because I do think that they did protect him last week. I think he was good to go against the Eagles, and they didn't want him to go out there, lose, and then it becomes a whole media controversy. I think Jerry Jones is a little bit smarter than we give him credit for, and I do think he made that executive decision upstairs.
All right.
And look, Dalton Schultz, you drafted in the 4th, 5th round of your fantasy draft, expecting him to have the upside of finishing as the tight end 2 or 3 in fantasy football. So now he finally gets his quarterback back. Like it's exactly what we wanted from Dalton Schultz, and now we're actually going to see it.
All right. From Deshaun, would you guys start both with Swift likely out? I don't know if he's likely out. I think he's pushing to play. Got to move Jacobs as the running back 2 now. What's the question here? I'm trying to see. Oh, wait, would he start Claypool and Pierce? It's Alec Pierce. So I like starting Alec Pierce first. So now the question is, would you rather play Claypool or Swift, I guess? Well, I think Swift's going to play, and if he plays, I don't love the matchup, but it's still play
Swift's going to be out.
Did they say that?
They said that it's a long shot to play.
Okay. Was that this morning's news?
Yeah.
I missed the morning news. Okay. If that's true, then yeah, I guess play Claypool unless you have another option here. I don't see another option. So, all right. From Sawyer Hebbs, Gesicki, Terrence Marshall, or Clyde TDY. I don't know what that means. TDY. Do you know that one?
Mm-mm.
I guess it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I'm assuming. PPR 16-team leagues, I'm in 11th. I would play Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he has a bad matchup, and I don't want any Panther starting in my lineup, so I would play Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I agree with that, if it is Clyde. All
right. Good morning, Rudy. Good to see you again. From George, who will win the USGP today? Do you know that acronym?
No.
I know it's your brother. I know that's your brother, but I don't know that acronym. All right.
It's a Formula One race.
Oh, okay. There you go. I don't know anything about Formula One. So let's go to our next game. We're waiting for more questions. Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys. Dalton Schultz with the knee PCL injury. CeeDee Lamb with a hip injury and Dak with a thumb injury. All are off the final injury report and good to go. Amon-Ra with an ankle is not listed on the final injury report. DeAndre Swift with the shoulder and ankles is very questionable and unlikely to play. It's a 1:00 game. You'll know at about 11 o'clock. All right, Rudy's question's in. It's a long one. So I got a question. I offered Breece Hall and Olave for Christian McCaffrey just to test the waters. My other running backs are Fournette, Brian Robinson. My wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Higgins, Vontae Smith, Hopkins, and Titans Ertz with Allen as my quarterback. Will that trade hurt or help my team? I'm high on Breece and Olave, and they're looking like late game winners. So do you have McCaffrey? It sounds like you're wording it as almost as if you have Breece and Olave, but then you're saying you're high on Breece and Olave, so it sounds like you're trading for them, I think. So I guess the best way to answer this, Nick, is what would you rather have on this team? I think I'd rather have Breece and Olave. Well, no, I think I'd rather. Well, it depends on how much you value McCaffrey. We got to see what he's with the 49ers, but they traded a lot for him. Oh, he has Breece and Olave, but the guy who had CMC threw it out there. I mean, Breece is playing like a top 5 running back. I don't think he's super duper far off from McCaffrey, and Olave is a top 10 wide receiver. He's scored double-digit fantasy points in every game he's played. I think I'd rather have Breece and Olave. Even if you're not starting Olave every week, you have the option to start him every week, and Breece Hall's been a monster. I don't think I would trade for McCaffrey here, which is crazy to say.
I probably wouldn't either. I do think I would try and piece out other pieces of your team. I would not want to move Olave. T. Higgins has been...
Try to trade Devontae Smith because they don't pass a lot.
Yeah.
If you could do Devontae Smith and Breece Hall, I would do it, but don't trade Olave. But Olave's been too good. And Breece is a monster running back. He really is. So that's my answer, at least. From Deshaun, in my 16-man league, do I start Devontae Parker, Nico Collins, or Noah Brown? Pick 2 out of 3 wide receiver and flex. I like Nico Collins. I think he could end up being the wide receiver 1 over there. I do like wide receiver 1s as your second one. Man, that's rough because Noah Brown's going to be the wide receiver 3 on his team, and Devontae Parker might be the wide receiver 3 as well on a team that doesn't throw a lot. I really don't like either of these matchups. I think I would go Devontae Parker because it's uncertain who's going to get the snaps over there, but I don't love it.
I would probably roll out Nico Collins and Noah Brown.
Okay. All right, from Fernando Luis, what's up, Dak or Burrow? Play Joey B. He's been the top. He's been a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and he's facing the Falcons that have given up a lot of points to fantasy quarterbacks. The Falcons have been horrendous. And the Lions haven't been great either, but Dak's coming off an injury, and I don't love playing players that come off an injury no matter what the injury is. Russell Wilson came off a serious hand injury last year, and you know what he looked like? He looked like what my dog did in the yard this morning. It was really bad, and Russell Wilson hasn't really looked good since. I know Dak's injury is a little bit different, but an injury to your throwing hand as a quarterback, I need to see him play first before I'm comfortable starting him because he didn't even look good week 1 against Tampa. So I would play Burrow, who's looked good the last few weeks. I think he's at over 20 fantasy points in 3 straight weeks or something like that, and he has a really great matchup. He's going to throw so many times to his wide receivers, and they're all going to have double-digit fantasy points. So I'm starting Burrow. I know
we think the same exact thing that Dak's going to do against the better matchup against Detroit. I think.
But how much better? I don't think it's light years better of a matchup. If it's better by 2 or 3 teams, sure. But Burrow's healthier, and they're going to use Zeke. This might be a Zeke game.
I think it's going to be both.
All right, I would start Burrow.
I'd 100% roll out Dak here.
Rudy, if he only wants those 2, just don't do it. That's his problem.
Yep.
Your team's solid. What are y'all picking for wide receiver 1 and 2 in flex spot? I got Michael Pittman, DK Sutton, Brandon Cooks, Ramondre Stevenson, and Curtis Samuel. Well, I wouldn't tell you to play Stevenson, but I just saw a report yesterday that Damian Harris is good to go on Monday night because the Patriots love to trick us with injuries. So first off, Michael Pittman's 100% a start. Great matchup. So start Michael Pittman. So I need to pick another receiver in a flex spot. Let's go DK. He's proven to be a bit matchup proof. The Chargers aren't good at defending wide receivers. Nick will have better stats because he has DK on his all bust teams. That's 2 right there.
I have DK on my own boom.
I'm sorry it's so early. It's so early. I know he's on your. I was talking him up. I said bust. For your third one, crap, man. I think I would go Stevenson because he's looked good and he is healthier. So I think they'll use Stevenson more, even if they say that Harris is active. But man, that's really tricky. I don't love Curtis Samuel's matchup at all. Brandon Cooks has looked pretty bad, and Sutton's matchup's a nightmare. So I would go Pittman, DK, and Ramondre Stevenson.
I agree with your 3. So
okay.
I don't need to give stats.
Sounds good. All right. I mean, you can give some DK stats. Why not? What do you got? Do you still have your notes?
Yep, of course. So he has. So first off, they're going up against the Chargers, who ranked bottom 10 against the wide receiver position. They ranked even lower. I think it was bottom 5 up until last week against Denver, where Russell Wilson, we all know what happened. On top of that, he's averaging 8 targets per game, 70 yards per game. And over the last 4 weeks, Seattle is averaging 28 real points per game. So DK is going to continue to have a lot of upside to score. They're getting the ball down the field. And it's a perfect matchup for him to kind of go off.
All right. You guys have any other questions? Keep asking us throughout the show. Again, we do this show every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Then we have our 4 shows during the week, which you can listen to. They're recorded, but you can listen to them. They're on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. They're on all audio streaming platforms, and they're also on YouTube if you'd rather watch them. Broncos country, let's ride.
Well, it's because, Broncos country is cool and all, but then you come up against the Jets, baby, with our all gas, no brakes. You can't hang with the Jets secondary. And
the Jets secondary does look the Jets secondary looks legit, and I'm not a Jets fan.
And
they do look legit. Their defense looks good, and they have a defensive-minded head coach.
The majority of the touchdowns that have come against the Jets have been burners because our safeties suck. Outside of that, our front seven's elite. Our top 3 cornerbacks have been shut down all year. If you don't burn the Jets over the top, you're not getting the ball far down the field.
The Jets defense is going to be a good fantasy play in the next few weeks. I know you guys have the Lions and the Bears at some point. So they're going to be a good fantasy
play. Jacksonville as well.
Yeah, they'll be a good fantasy play. From Chris Tomlinson, start Amon-Ra St. Brown or Damian Pierce in the flex? Good question. Amon-Ra St. Brown's coming off the injury and has a bad matchup. He does have a bad matchup. Start Damian Pierce. Lovie Smith said the other day that Damian Pierce needs at least 20 carries. That means he's probably getting close to 30 every single game. Facing the Raiders, who don't have a good defense, start Damian Pierce every week. This is an every week thing at this point. He's up there.
I think Damian Pierce is going to finish the season with one of the highest snap shares in the NFL. So
I think so too.
I think
nobody over there.
It's so clear cut. The only other guy they have over there is Rex Burkhead, who they're using a little bit, but they're using him more as a blocker. Damian Pierce, I think, is leading the league over the last 3 games that everyone's played in like routes run. He's leading in carries. Like he's leading in so many key stats for the running back position. You have to keep locking him in.
All right, from Deshaun, would you start Claypool or Zay Jones at flex? I would start Claypool. Zay Jones has a bad matchup against the Giants. I think the Jags are going to have an abysmal offense today. Claypool's going up against the Dolphins, who don't have a good defense, and he looked really good last week with Kenny Pickett, so I would start Claypool for the upside, but I don't think Claypool's guaranteed points. I just think he has a chance at more points than Zay Jones.
I agree. I'd play Claypool as well.
Nick Day says, go Jags. You a Jags fan? If so, I apologize. That's rough,
We've
man.
been ripping you apart for a little bit.
But you know what? They're looking better this year. I'll say that. I'm only ripping them apart because the Giants' defense has been really good, but the Jags have looked better this year, and that's how you build something. You're not going to turn things around so quickly. Rudy says, rooting for the Jets. Rudy, who's your NFL
straight,
team?
Rudy.
Who is your NFL team? And who's your college team? So you're rooting for Sauce. Maybe he went to the college. I think he went to Bama, right? Did you go to Bama? He was a Bama cat. I think so. All right, from Jeb Armstrong. Should I trade Chris Godwin, Deontay Foreman, and Isaiah Pacheco for Cooper Kupp? Yes.
Yeah,
I don't see a lot of upside with the other
two.
Yes, it's not going to be accepted. If he offered it to you, 100%. Cooper Kupp, if you have a chance to get him, go get him. That's what I did with Justin Jefferson 2 weeks ago. Like, if you have the chance, just go get him.
Also, if you can make this trade today, very sneakily, if your commissioner does not approve the trade, you can start Godwin this week, and you'll get Cooper Kupp right after the week passes. Like, it won't hit your roster till after, so you could actually get away with starting Godwin this week and then getting Kupp when it comes off the bye.
Joe says, start Everett or Albert over 1.8 points. Yeah, that's Everett's a slam dunk this week.
Everett is the slam dunk, and Albert is going to go over the 1.8. Oh, no, he's going to go under.
He's going to go under against the Jets.
Anymore. He's not seeing the field.
They like the rookie. You forget his name, but he's a sneaky waiver player as well. Nick Day says Jags and FSU makes for rough weekends. Yeah, I mean, the Jags, you never really had a lot of love, but FSU, 10 years ago at this point, you had some fun weekends, but that's a rough one, man.
I'm a Jets-Knicks fan. I have been miserable up until this year of my life.
I'm a Yankees fan, so baseball's dead to me. Knicks and Yankees fan.
Both of us.
All right. What game do we got up next? We're talking about Cowboys and Dallas. So I'm benching like every Lion this week, by the way. The Cowboys defense is really good. Jared Goff's going to look really bad. I definitely wouldn't play Jamal Williams. I wouldn't play any other running receiver. And I'm benching every Lion I can. I'll play Amon-Ra in a league that I have to, but I'm not excited about the matchup.
I don't think Amon-Ra should be as big of a I have to play him. I do think he's a fine play because, like, we know they're going to be behind all game. We know Jared Goff's going to throw 50 times. We know that Amon-Ra is the most talented receiver out there, so there's a lot of upside for him in this game. I just, like, outside of that, like, I agree with you on Jamal Williams. I don't love TJ Hawkinson this week. I think Hawkinson's getting way overinflated by the one game.
Yeah.
And the other receivers there, I mean, we all know the situation. They're not good.
Rudy says, I'm playing the Jags defense. Should I expect negative numbers? I mean, they got you negative numbers last week. I lost the matchup because I played the Jags defense and they got me negative numbers because I didn't want to play the Denver defense. I would go drop the Jags D. I don't know who's on your waiver wire. If you want some suggestions, let us know who's on your waiver wire. But I wouldn't play the Jags D this week. They looked good in like one game this season against Indy, and I think that's just an anomaly game.
I would play the Giants defense. I consider Indy's defense. Green Bay against Washington in their first week with Heineke. You could get away with the Jets or Denver's defense, and Jets defense are on a lot of waiver wires still. There's a lot of good defensive matchups this week.
He says he has to play Amon-Ra. He's my favorite receiver in the NFL right now, and I named my team Amon-Man, so I gotta roll with him. Yeah, it's not a bad play. I mean, I'm rolling with him in a league. It's just I don't love it per se.
I like that name.
Yeah, that's a good one. Scott Green, Rodgers or Luck? There's no luck in the league anymore, as far as I know. So I guess you're gonna have to go Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you mistype that? I don't know if you mistyped that or he's just throwing a joke out there. All
Not
right.
sure.
I play every Cowboy this week, basically. I don't love playing Dak, like I said, but I would play him if it's over other quarterbacks. But anyway. Alrighty, Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Jonathan Taylor, ankle, and Naheem Hines will play. They're off the injury report. Colts want to utilize Jelani Walker more at tight end. I saw that today. Who are some plays in this game for you? I think the Indy players are really attractive plays. I have Matt Ryan on my all boom team, so I like Matt Ryan this week. If you have like Jalen Hurts on a bye like I do, or Josh Allen, I like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, and I like Jonathan Taylor. I think that offense is starting to gel, and this could be a game where you kind of see Taylor break out because if they're moving the ball with the pass, Taylor has more opportunities to run the ball. The box won't have 12 people in it.
Yeah, this is a good game to keep your eye out on at the running back position because we know Deion Jackson just went off, and they used him as a 3-down workhorse, used him in the passing game a lot more than Taylor has been used this year. So we're going to watch if they transition all that workload to Taylor, which I do think is the right decision. He's the best running back on your team, probably the best, at least the top 3 running back in the NFL. So I do like watching out for that. I think Alec Pierce is a must start this week. Great matchup. I think he has more chemistry with Matt Ryan than Michael Pittman does at this point. I think both are good plays, but I do think Alec Pierce is the one he's leaning on and trusting a lot more. And on the tight end side of the ball, Nick knows how I feel. It's Derrick Henry and then the rest. I will not start another player.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, Rudy says these are the defenses on his waiver wire. Colts, Raiders, Giants, Chiefs, probably the top ones. Cards also, can't play the Cards. I would not play the Chiefs or the Raiders, so it's between Colts or Giants. I think I'll give the Giants defense a shot.
Yeah.
Trevor hasn't looked bad this year, but he also doesn't look great, so I would give the Giants defense a shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I roll out the Giants.
Jimmy G or Trevor Lawrence today from Jesus Wencelesco. I think I said that wrong, but that's okay. Play Jimmy G. The Chiefs defense hasn't been great, and as much as they don't love Jimmy G, they could pass a lot to these receivers and McCaffrey. So I'd play Jimmy G.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't see myself putting Trevor Lawrence out against the Giants.
I'm pretty much all out on Trevor today. From Deshaun, another Trevor question. That's why I loaded it up. Play Jacoby Brissett. The Ravens have allowed a lot of fantasy points to wide receivers. That means they've allowed a lot of fantasy points to the quarterbacks. So play Jacoby Brissett.
I don't know. I think teams are starting to figure out Brissett. I think I saw the stat where he's only throwing like 45% over the last 3 weeks completion percentage, where in the first 3 weeks of the season it was like mid 70s because teams just couldn't figure him out. I guess you have to roll out Brissett because Trevor Lawrence going up against the Giants is going to be a nightmare. But is there anyone else that you have to pivot to?
Yeah, maybe. From Scott Green says, sorry, he meant Aaron Rodgers or Matty Ice. Play Matty Ice. He has a great matchup this week against the Titans. He's had 20 plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 weeks. I would play Matt Ryan.
I agree, but I think either one's a fine play this week.
Okay. From Andrea, good morning. Good morning to you as well. Need 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Alan Lazard, Michael Gallup, Damian Pierce, PPR. Well, Pierce is definitely your flex. I don't think I need to ask Nick about that one. And as for your receiver, Nick's very high on Alan Lazard. I don't love either of these guys, but I'll roll with Lazard, and I want Nick to talk about him because he has some stats for you, probably.
Oh, baby. Let me pull it up. I know I asked you the mystery question this last week, but
you did. There was a mystery question on the Friday show for all boom and all bust teams. We always do a fun Friday show available on all audio streaming platforms and YouTube.
So he's currently averaging the same stats as DK Metcalf: 70 yards per game, 8 targets per game, 3 touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. And he's a wide receiver 1 on his team at the moment. I know we love Romeo Doubs and the upside there, but Alan Lazard has been the wide receiver 1 for a team that has struggled to move the ball over the last couple weeks, including matchups against the Giants and the Jets. Alan Lazard was the wide receiver 1, did put up double-digit fantasy points, and now he gets the Commanders, who rank 27th to the wide receiver position. But they actually rank number 2 in average. The rankings on ESPN go off of the total points allowed, but when you have a bye week or an easy matchup, it kind of scales it. So against the against the Bears, who we obviously know suck and have the worst wide receiving room in NFL, maybe NFL history at the moment. That they had a good matchup, which prevented it, but did also allow Darnell Mooney his biggest game of the year. So it just is a true indicator that the wide receiver one is going to cook this secondary.
All right. Rudy says Allen's on bye. He's rolling with golf. On the waivers are Tua, Brissett, Heineke, Pickett, probably the top ones. I would play Tua. Play Tua. You need to go get Tua right now. Do not play Jared Goff. It's going to be a bad matchup. Goff has been a fine quarterback, but when he's faced good defenses like the Patriots, he's crumbled under pressure. This is not going to be a good Goff game.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Green again. He says it's a PPR league. I'm assuming it's full PPR. He said in the comments, Wan'Dale Robinson or Isaiah Pacheco. I think I'll play Wan'Dale Robinson for the upside. He had a touchdown last week. I think the Giants wide receiver room is very uncertain, and that means they could either choose a new receiver to target every week or one could break out. The Jaguars don't have a great defense. They don't have top corners, so I would play Wan'Dale Robinson. The Giants are moving the ball every week, and if they move the ball, that means receivers are going to get targets. San Francisco's been like the number one defense against running backs, I believe. I'm sorry, they're number 2 behind the Bucs. So Pacheco, even if he's the starter today, I don't think he should start in your lineup. I think he's touchdown or bust.
Yeah, I agree with Nick here. I could see Isaiah Pacheco coming out and taking a 60 to 70% snap share. I could see him coming out and taking a 30% snap share. I think he's a better stash play where I think Wan'Dale Robinson is the healthiest receiver on the team, and he will probably continue to be the wide receiver one.
So I see another question about Pacheco, so I'm going to load this one up. Deshaun, I'll get your quarterback question after this. Any thoughts on Isaiah Pacheco from A? Got him stashed on a bench. Hopefully he does good for some future starts. My running backs are McCaffrey and Hunt. I need some extra help there. My thoughts on Pacheco are, I want to see if I could find this tweet that I just saw. And it was another fantasy analyst on Twitter, so that's why I really want to find it. Okay, so it's from Adam Koffler, Koffler. He goes, will be very interesting to see what Isaiah Pacheco's role is now that he's the starter today, starter in quotations. Is he just the runner between the 20s with Clyde Edwards-Helaire operating around the goal line and Jerick McKinnon coming in on passing downs? It'll be interesting to find out. And I think the tweet summarizes my thoughts is that I don't really trust the Chiefs as a running back team and as a running team. I think they're a passing team. And I think whatever running back every week is getting the goal line touches is the one you're going to want. And until we figure out what each role is defined as, I just don't think any of them are going to be comfortable starts. So I think stashing him on the bench is fine, but I don't want to start a Chiefs running back at the moment.
I agree. I do think he's a great stash at the moment. I do, you do have great running backs. I don't know if you have other depth outside of that. Like if Isaiah Pacheco's jumping in to be your RB3, I think you probably need to make a wide receiver for running back trade anyway.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're going to be able to trust Pacheco this week, even if he goes off this week. If he doesn't see 15 carries, you're probably not trusting him next week anyway. So I would bench him this week, see what happens, come back next week for a live show and ask again.
And you're welcome, guys. You're welcome, A. You're welcome, Andrea. We do this live show every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hope to see you guys there every week. Deshaun says the other options at quarterback are Davis Mills, Ryan Tannehill, Mac Jones, and Kenny Pickett. That's also with Trevor Lawrence and Jacoby Brissett. I don't even know if Mac Jones is playing. I think he is, but if Mac Jones is playing, I think I would start Mac Jones, but I don't know if he's playing. So I think I'm still going to go Brissett here.
Yeah, I think you do have to roll.
I don't love it. Rudy says that, I guess you can't add Tua. Did somebody drop Tua in your league in the last 2 days? If so, that's why you can't play Tua. If there's any player you don't want on your bench right now, let's say a Carolina running back or a Ravens running back that you didn't want anybody else to start, you could drop them now because nobody.
That's what I've done in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's what I just did with my Carolina running backs. It's either Brissett or Pickett. I would play Brissett. Yeah. I don't love it, but I'd play Brissett. All right, thanks for the questions, guys. We're going to keep answering your questions another half hour, a little bit longer, depending on if we're getting more questions. But keep asking them. We'll keep answering them. And we'll keep running game by game here. So let's go to the Green Bay Packers versus the Washington Commanders. Aaron Cobb's on the IR. Sammy Watkins is coming off the IR, and we don't know how much he's going to play. Christian Watson is not going to play. So the receivers over there in Green Bay are Romeo Doubs, Alan Lazard, and Robert Tonyan, who had a big game last week at tight end. Taylor Heinicke starting for the football team. Logan Thomas is out with a calf injury. Let's talk about Green Bay first. Who from Green Bay do you like starting. So I like Aaron Jones. I think Rodgers is a fine start. And I think Lazard is a fine start as well. The other ones I think are matchup based.
I agree with that. I do think Romeo Dobbs is a start as well. I like Lazard and Dobbs this week. Lazard, I think, is going to have his biggest game of the season. Which isn't too high of a threshold. I think he's at 17 is his high. I think he could break that 20 mark this week in a great matchup. Dobbs, I think, same thing, could have another good matchup. Aaron Jones, every single week you have the chance of that 4-touchdown game. I traded him away to our chat moderator, Nick's brother, this past week. So as I told him, he's going to get that Aaron Jones 4-touchdown game. If it's not this week, it's going to be the next time I face him in our league. But yeah, those I agree with you there. I think Robert Tunyon's going to be the good question mark because he did have a lot of usage last week against the Jets. I'm not sure where Washington ranks against the tight end position on defense. I'm not sure if Nick wants to pull that up real quick, but I could see him being a very good play based off his workload last week. I do think they're going to need to get him more involved.
They're actually pretty good against tight ends.
Okay.
They're fourth best against tight ends.
Okay. Well, that tells you everything. You're not playing them this week, matchup based.
You too, Andrea. Have a great day. Hopefully you enjoy your football Sunday and win your fantasy matchups. How about the Commander side of things? Taylor Heineke starting. Logan Thomas is out with the calf injury. And I wrote, do you start a Washington running backs? I don't know which one to start. Gibson had 8 points last week. Brian Robinson had 12 with the touchdown. So what are you thinking on the Washington side?
I'm not rostering J.D. McKissick. I think Brian Robinson is the better play this week. I could see Antonio Gibson asking for a trade and getting out of there before the deadline. I think he fits in well on that Rams team.
So, is Brian Robinson the only one that you would start today then?
Yep.
If any?
Yeah.
And what about on the receiver side? Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel are both on our bus teams. Are you benching them or?
Benching them fully.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay. Rudy says, how do we feel about Brian Robinson going forward being a Commander player? I don't know why, but I like Heineke over Wentz. I feel like maybe the team would be a bit better. I think the roster is better. I think they're poorly coached, so I don't think they're going to be a bit better. I think Brian Robinson is the running back that you want going forward, but I'm not super duper excited to play him or any Commanders.
Yeah, I agree with that. If you have to play Brian Robinson, or if you need another running back because you have, those Rams guys, those Dalvin Cook, like those guys that are on bye, then I do think he's a fine play, but I mean, he doesn't have a high upside. Like the Commanders aren't going to put him in touchdown position consistently. They didn't give Antonio Gibson, who is a very talented running back, a 3-down workload. So we know we're probably not going to come to Brian Robinson. So I don't love him as a play week to week, but I do think he is the most startable one there at the moment.
All right. From Connor's cruel son, good morning, guys. Good morning to you, my friends. So I need help with defense. I have the Ravens currently, but should I switch them out for the Commanders or Colts? Maybe the Bears. Never the Bears. Never the Bears. The Colts I like, though. I'll play the Colts defense over the Ravens. The Ravens defense hasn't been good.
That's what I was going to say. I would say out of these four, I'd start the Colts.
Let's go with the Colts. All right. Next game we got Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers. PJ Walker starting. Yuck. Start Deontay Foreman or Chuba Hubbard? Question mark. No. I'm just going to blanketly say don't start any Panther today. The Bucs defense is pretty stout. Do not play any Panther. On the Bucs side, I'll let Nick talk about Tom Brady, but I have a different opinion on Tom Brady. I actually, you know what? We got questions. Let's get the questions first, then we'll talk about the Bucs. All right. From Greg McDonald, would you play Christian McCaffrey or Kenyon Drake today? 0.5 PPR. I'd play McCaffrey because if they're starting him, it sounds like they want to get him involved. Play McCaffrey this week. Kenyon Drake's going to be in running back by committee. Play McCaffrey. From Wamo Diaz, flex, Kenyon Drake, Najee Harris, or Brian Robinson. Play Najee. He's had double-digit fantasy points in 4 out of 5 games. I know he's not getting the points that you really want, but he's been producing from a tiny bit, and he's playing the Dolphins this week. The Dolphins defense hasn't been great. They just allowed 100 yards to Dalvin Cook. They've allowed 18 fantasy points to guys like Joe Mixon, Cook, and there's one other running back, Breece Hall. So play Najee Harris this week. I think this is the week they play Najee Harris.
I agree.
Thank you for the question. And thank you as well for joining. We appreciate that. If you have any other questions, let us know. We're here every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And we do our recorded shows during the week on Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, Fridays. You can find those on all audio streaming platforms and YouTube. Is Pacheco starting for real? That's the report. I mean, I'm not in the Kansas City, locker room, but that's what it sounds like. So there you go.
The Chiefs also aren't like Mike Tomlin, Bill Belichick, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay. Those guys do not let you know what's going on behind closed doors.
No.
Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes straight up told you before the year, like, my receivers, there's going to be a new stud every single week. And Andy Reid pretty much says we're playing the best player. Like, end of story. So if Isaiah Pacheco is the best running back and is taking the reps, that means they're trying him at the RB1. But I don't think he's going to. I don't know if he's going to be moving forward. Nick pulled up the tweet earlier, which I do think is going to be accurate for that situation. So, I mean, once again, stash him, see what happens. Usually you wait 3-4 weeks for a rookie to boom, but this might be the first time he gets the opportunity to actually boom.
Yep. From A again, Amari Cooper and Njoku for my final flex. Lockett's also on the bench. Play Amari Cooper. Great match against the Ravens defense. It's given up the third most fantasy points to wide receivers this season. I like Njoku as well, but play Cooper. He's getting like 12 targets a game. I think that's the guy to start.
So there was one segment on Undisputed that always changed my opinion on Amari Cooper. It was when he was back in Dallas. And it all had to do with where Amari Cooper plays his games. Amari Cooper is comfortable at home and bad on the road. Skip Bayless said it, and I looked up the stats, and it was literally like his 8 best games of the year came at home in Dallas, or like 7 of the 8, and then his worst games came on the road. And I'll take a look at this season. Here's his fantasy production in his 2 road games this year, 4.7 and 1.9. In his 4 home games this year, 25, 24, 20, 15. So his monster games that came at home. This time they walk into Baltimore. I think it's the best matchup on the road that he's had so far, but there's very good upside that he's not comfortable on the road.
If he doesn't produce today, then
that's pretty much what it says.
If he doesn't play well today, then yeah, that's a point. All right, from S. Connors again. Also another question for half PPR: Brandon Ayuk, Rashad Bateman, or Zay Jones. I'll play Ayuk, but temper the expectations because there's so many mouths to feed over there, and he also has Claypool. I think I'm going to go Claypool now. Now that I see Claypool, I think I'm going to go Claypool because I don't think they have established who the wide receiver 2 is over there. I know Nick loves George Pickens, but Claypool bounced up last week. So I think I'll play Claypool. I like Ayuk's talent, but there's so many mouths to feed over there. Only 2 of those receivers are going to really boom, whether it's Kittle, Debo, or Ayuk plus McCaffrey. So I can't tell you which one's going to get the targets.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there.
Okay. I think you could cut Elijah Mitchell, Joe.
I disagree.
Why? They have McCaffrey, and and Jeff Wilson hasn't looked bad. Why would you keep Elijah Mitchell?
Because Elijah Mitchell is going to be the best handcuff in fantasy football, not named, or maybe even better than Alexander Madison. Christian McCaffrey has a large injury history, and San Francisco has the biggest history of injuring their running backs. Kyle Shanahan gets those running backs hurt because he pounds them to the ground. They're a very physical football team. They take a lot of hits at practice. Like, San Fran has been the most injured team, like each of the last 5 years. If they're not the most injured, they're always up there for injury. So I'm never bank on an injury, but as a handcuff play, Elijah Mitchell is one of the best. And if you're stashing a guy like Tony Pollard or an Alexander Madison or an AJ Dillon, like, Elijah Mitchell is better than all of them as a stash play, as a handcuff.
From A, we'll get a sub from me. I'll be coming back next week. Thank you so much. Again, we do this live show every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. to about 10 a.m. every Sunday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to listen to our shows during the week, if you want more fantasy advice from us, we do recorded shows on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's on every audio streaming platform for podcasts, and it's also on our YouTube channel for the video and audio version. From Campbell, and by the way, guys, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, please give us a like on this video. We'd appreciate that. It really does help to, boost up that algorithm and stuff like that, so we can keep giving you guys the fantasy.
Yes, thank you.
From Campbell Childers, ETN, Sutton, or Lockett for flex full PPR. I think Lockett's playing, as far as I know, so I think I would play Lockett as long as he's playing. Both ETN and Sutton have really bad matchups. Joe, I'm going to let you get that bot, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think out of these three, I don't want to play Lockett with the hamstring. I know, like, it's tempting. It's a good matchup, but I still don't want to play him. I don't want ETN. I don't want Sutton with his matchup. Like, unfortunate situation. Um, I would probably. So here's my fun stat of the day. My little fun one, which
All right.
surprised me. So I benched Cortland Sutton in one of my leagues before the Russell Wilson injury. His projection was around 13.2 to 13.5.
Yep.
Russell Wilson was announced out. His projection jumped up to 14 points. So now I don't know who does those projections, because I know the Primetime FF Pod's a little more accurate than those guys. But I will have to say that they see Sutton having a better matchup with a different quarterback at the helm. I think it's possible. I don't think he's going to have a good game. I don't think it's possible for any of these three guys to boom. I don't think any of them have a safe floor either. So sorry, I'm ripping apart your team this week, but I would probably go with the talent of Sutton because of the poor situation for all three over the other guys.
All right. Rudy says, do you think Claypool's going to Green Bay? I don't, because Green Bay doesn't trade for anybody. I just don't think Green Bay, I think they're too stingy to make a trade.
Correct.
He would fit well in Green Bay, but. From Spencer Butler, Brandon Ayuk or Alex Pierce, PPR, play Alec Pierce. Matt Ryan has formed a connection with him. He's the wide receiver 2 on his team. I think that's a great play this week. Play Alec Pierce. Thank you for the question. We appreciate that. Okay. Now we want to talk about Tampa. I like Tampa this week. I like Leonard Fournette. I like Godwin. I like Evans. I like Brady. I like all of them this week. Nick, I know you may not like them all, so I'll let you speak, but I think they're all great plays. Carolina's horrible. They're going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. They're really bad.
So let me give you the Tom Brady stats that I pulled up, which is why I have Brady as a bust. I do not like betting against Tom Brady, but the stats and the analytics say otherwise. So he's currently the QB 14, so he's been a average NFL quarterback. In points per game, he ranks 16th, so that would put him at literally the average of a starting NFL quarterback. The worst part of it is he really only has one high game that is getting him that high. He has one game with 3 touchdowns. The other 5 all have 1 touchdown. Outside of that, against Carolina, which looks like a great matchup, if you take a look at last season, and they share the division, so they play each other twice a year. Last year, his worst 2 games for fantasy came against the Panthers. His lowest passing attempts last year came against the Panthers. So in one game, he had 30 passing attempts, which was his lowest of the season. In the other game, 37, which was his 4th lowest of the season. So that pretty much tells you it's going to be Buccaneers get off early lead, Leonard Fournette go manage the clock, go manage the game, go win the NFL game. I know it's a great matchup, and we love playing against the Panthers, but history shows Tom Brady is a good football player, but not a fantasy stat stuffer against the Panthers.
All right. Should you sit Hawkinson and look at the free agents for tight ends? Yeah, let us know who's on your waiver wire. The Giants tight end's a good play. Foster Moreau's a good play. Let us know who's on your waiver wire, and we can help you select one. From Dylan, start 2, Sutton, Gallup, and A.J. Dillon full PPR. I always love starting the receivers in full PPR, so even if I don't like Sutton's matchup, I would play Sutton and Gallup this week. I like knowing that there's a chance for them to get a couple receptions.
I completely agree.
Okay. Next game, we got the New York Giants versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Marvin Jones with the hamstrings, questionable. Jamal Agnew's also out. Evan Ingram revenge game. That's another good tight end play if you can play Evan Ingram. Actually, I'm sorry, Nick. I want to put this game to the side because a couple news bits I want to tell you from Roto World and Fantasy Life. So first off, Ian Rappaport's reporting that Russell Wilson has a partially torn hamstring, leaving his status in doubt beyond the start. He'll miss today against the Jets. They play the Jaguars in London next week, and then they have their bye. I wouldn't be shocked if they benched Russell Wilson for next week.
They're not going to fly him with a torn hamstring out to London to go play. They'll rest him before the bye. That's the early reaction. I can't see them. Like, I think it would be a terrible football decision. Like, that would just be, like, cruel to do to him.
Yeah, he thinks he's Wolverine.
Do not let him ride all the way over to London.
He is not an X-Men. So, all right. I also see here that the Broncos have received multiple trade offers for receivers, Jerry Jeudy and KG Hamler. Let's see if the Broncos blow it up after they just paid their quarterback $250 million. Marvin Jones is playing today, according to Tom Pelissero. Jahan Dotson is a long shot to play. Mac Jones took the bulk of the first team reps on Saturday, and he's hoping for a return. It looks like he's on track to play. I'm sorry, I just see a note from a minute ago. Jahan Dotson is not playing today, Ron Rivera said. Bearing a setback, Mac Jones is expected to start. Keenan Allen says he's going to test his hamstring out. They also have the bye, but it sounds like Keenan Allen's not going to play. It does sound like Mac Hollins and Hunter Renfrow are both going to play. They're going to work out pregame. Trying to see if there's any other news that may have been missed. I think that's it, though. All right, so now we're going to move on to Giants at the Jaguars. Galladay and Toney will not play. So the guys I like in this game are Saquon, obviously. And then I like Bellinger, the tight end. I like Wan'Dale Robinson from the Jaguars. Evan Ingram. I don't love the running backs. If you have to play one, play ETN, but I don't love the running backs.
Completely agree.
Okay.
100%.
You know who called? Well, Jamal Williams is safe flex this week. Gino or Mariota for Hurts on bye. Jamal Williams is not a safe flex. Facing the Cowboys defense, who's been very good against everything, including running backs. So I would not look to start Jamal Williams this week. I think it's going to be a very bad game script. So I would not look to start Jamal Williams this week. As for your bye, Geno Smith, he's looked really good. He's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback this season, and I can't believe that that's a sentence that's coming out of my mouth after 6 weeks of football. Play Geno Smith this week. Who else can you play at flex? Let us know, and we can give you some options.
Yeah, give us some other options. I don't think he's a safe play. I think he's a fine play. And I agree with Nick. Go with Geno over Mariota.
All right. So here are the tight ends he has on his waiver: Evan Ingram, Foster Moreau, Bellinger, Dulich, Henry Conklin. Those are good ones. I think. Who do you think?
I would go with the 1 week Foster Moreau.
Yeah, I would also go with Foster Moreau. The Texans are bad at everything, so go with Foster Moreau. Should I start Gesicki or Evan Ingram from Mr. Josh? Well, Josh, I would start Evan Ingram. Revenge game. He's had double-digit fantasy points, I believe, in 3 straight matchups. Gesicki is a really bad matchup against the Steelers, and it looks like he's going to get traded. So I would play Evan Ingram.
Mike McDaniels does not want to watch that gritty dance anymore, so that ball is never going to Mike Gesicki. Go with Evan Ingram.
I don't think we're getting a Hawkinson game. I think so. Yeah, I think all the Lions are going to have really bad games. I just wouldn't start Lions at this point. Not today.
Hawkinson has not been good for fantasy. He's like the average is high, but median, which is just the middle number, like the amount of times he's outscored, like the middle number. So if he's played 5 games, it's what's in the middle. So how many games has he outscored? How many games has he underscored? It's like 7 points or 8 points. Yep. So he's literally had 1 good game, which has made up his average. Like he's the most overhyped and overvalued tight end in fantasy at the moment.
Yep. The Giants have wide receivers out, Rudy, but those wide receivers haven't played the entire season, and the Giants are 5-1. So no, I just don't play the Jags defense. I just don't think it's a good play this week. They don't have stars on defense. Daniel Jones does not give the ball away. He fumbles occasionally, but he's a smart game manager. So I don't see a lot of upside for the Jags defense.
Yeah, I don't want to run it. I think there's better options.
Yep. From Mr. Josh, what about Evan Ingram or Foster Moreau? I would give Foster Moreau the edge just for this week, though. If you need a tight end every week, stash Evan Ingram, but Foster Moreau is the one to play this week.
We already know Waller's out. We know that Mac Hollins is dinged up. We know that Hunter Renfrow is dinged up. So it's going to be the 2 healthy guys are Devontae Adams and Foster Moreau. They should have the highest snap share on that field outside of quarterback and O-line, obviously.
Okay, you know who called well again. These are the flex options besides Jamal Williams: Terry McLaurin or George Pickens, Jacoby Myers, Brandon Ayuk, Rondale Moore, Juju Dobbs, and Brian Robinson are on waivers. Wow. So you could start one of these guys. I mean, I don't love playing Terry this week. I mean, I think the name that has the highest upside, I think, is Dobbs, but I think I'd still play Terry over him because it's a safer floor. I think out of all these names, I would either play if Mac Jones is playing, play Jacoby Myers, because Jacoby Myers had double-digit fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games, I think, and had 27 with Mac Jones a couple weeks ago. So I think I played Jacoby Myers, actually.
I don't hate that take. I think I would lean, if you're going to get one to stash, because it's a loaded waiver, I would go for Juju. But if you're just looking for the 1 week play, I'd probably go with Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah, Juju shouldn't be on your waivers. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's
a
a
lot of
very
these
big
guys shouldn't.
outlier.
Is this an 8-man league or maybe because this
Might
is
just
a
be a
pretty
short
loaded
bench.
league.
If
Yeah,
it's a 6
it's
bench,
possible.
it's possible.
Yeah. From Chris Thomason, he picked up Pacheco. Dropped Drake London. Wow, I don't know if I dropped Drake London, but yeah, he could go crazy today. So I understand looking for the upside.
I don't hate it because if it's non-keeper, non-dynasty, dropping Drake
Yeah.
London, like at the end of the day, like I said, there's going to be no week that you trust Drake London or Kyle Pitts. Like, what are they going to do? Like, you need to see 3 games with double-digit points to trust starting them? Maybe, but even then, you might not want to start them. So, I don't hate the idea of dropping Drake London if there is a guy with that much upside like Pacheco.
Okay. Mr. Josh Swift is not out officially. He's unlikely. You'll find out at 11 o'clock Eastern time, the inactives for the games. But unfortunately, we can't tell you who's inactive. 11:30 actually. But from Andre Aravoli, Caden Otten or Pat Fryermuth? Play Fryermuth.
Is Fryermuth hurt still or no?
He's playing.
We cleared
He's
concussion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so go with Fryermuth.
Okay. 9-man league, max points, no matchups. Commish messed up.
Ooh.
Interesting. Very interesting. 6-0 though, boys. So I'm doing anything I can make to make my team stronger. Yeah, no, I totally get it. Congratulations on being 6-0. That's awesome. Kyle Pitts and Sutton been my worst pickups this season. They have not been. Well, Sutton's been okay.
Sutton has not been bad. He had one bad game all year.
Garrett Wilson or Pacheco rest of season. Pacheco because the Jets don't throw the ball. I know the Chiefs are going to get into the red zone, but the Jets aren't throwing the ball.
I mean, if you're asking me who's going to outscore the other rest of the year, the safer play is Garrett Wilson because it's all speculation from Pacheco over the last hour. But
yeah, but Garrett Wilson, what's his average on a game-to-game basis?
It's not good, but what's Pacheco? I don't think Pacheco's outscored 2 fantasy points all year.
Probably not. I would go Pacheco, but luckily you don't have to make this decision.
Yeah.
All right. Hayden Hurst or Cade Otten? Play Hayden Hurst. Good matchup.
Yep. Completely agree.
All right. Trading to win is how you win. I've made like 2 trades in the last week. You have to trade to win.
Yep.
I've won a league or 2 without trades, but it does help. Okay, I'm looking for a question here. All right, from Patty, PPR, which 2 wide receivers should I start? T. Higgins, Tyler Lockett, Juju, Lazard, Deontay. Definitely T. Higgins. Great matchup. Your second one, I like Nick's take on Lazard. I'd go Lazard, but Deontay's not a bad play either.
Completely agree.
Thank you for the question, Patty. Appreciate it. Nick, how long are you good for? We're at the hour mark.
We're good. Keep going.
We're good. Okay, we're gonna keep rolling until we stop getting questions or when we finish our game by game preview. Did you have any? I think we finished Jags and Giants. Let's move on to Nick's favorite team, Believeland, the Cleveland Browns versus the Baltimore Ravens. J.K. Dobbins is out with a knee injury for 4 to 6 weeks. We didn't get to talk about this on Friday's show because it happened after the Friday show. First off, put J.K. Dobbins on your IR spot if you can. Second off, this is why I avoided J.K. Dobbins throughout the entire offseason.
Yeah.
So,
aside
from that, Rashad Bateman's questionable with a foot injury. Looks like he's going to play. Are you playing Bateman anywhere?
No, I still won't trust him. He had the 2 big weeks because of deep touchdowns in the early weeks and has sucked and been hurt ever since.
I'm with you on that.
Still not a good option.
Okay. Mark Andrews with a knee injury is good to go. And as for the running backs, we have Justice Hill, Kenyon Drake, or Gus Edwards. I would play Justice Hill and I would roster Justice Hill. The other ones I'm not super high on.
I think for this week, I'd roll out Kenyon Drake. I think Gus is the best long-term stash.
Okay. Next question. Andy Caps, Kareem Hunt or Antonio Gibson?
I'll go
Kareem Hunt, better matchup. Yep. From Patty, thanks, Andreas. I appreciate that. From Patty, Deontay Johnson or Mostert at flex? Play Deontay Johnson. A lot of targets.
Yeah, I'd go Deontay as well.
Chris says, when people pay, in our case, $50 to play and somebody does trades once a week and they wind up actually winning, it just doesn't feel right. Well, trading's a part of fantasy football. I have like 3 or 4 leagues that are $100, and I've seen like 1 or 2 trades in 10 years get rejected. If the trade is really bad, it does get rejected by the league. In most leagues, if your commissioner is good enough. I do have a league in which somebody traded for Derrick Henry earlier this year, and his team is absolutely loaded now. And I probably should have rejected that one, and I didn't. But most of the time, trades that go through are beneficial to both teams. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I agree. And you can pull up Rudy's comment here. I like, to me, at the end of the day, like, if everyone in the league can do it, like, you just got to do it better. So we got into a very big argument I think it was last year or 2 years ago in me and Nick's league, because I picked up Taysom Hill off the waiver wire. I was the number 1 seed, so I was the last waiver pick. Picked up Taysom Hill, knew I could play him at tight end, even though, like, he's tight end quarterback and he was starting at quarterback on the short week, and I started him at tight end. And my argument was, well, you can't be mad at me. Like, it's the league. Everyone else and every other one was doing it. And then I realized I had no one on bye the next week. So if I didn't want to change my lineup, I could still roll out Taysom Hill at the tight end position when they changed him to quarterback only. It became a big debate in the league. I winded up taking him out anyway because it is messed up. But anyone else that picked up Taysom Hill could have done the same thing that I did. So just play whatever you can do, everyone else in your league can do. So just do it better.
Our league has the veto button. Yeah, just use that veto button, but you have to go out there and look for trades. It's part of fantasy. On the Browns side, I know you said you don't like Amari Cooper this week. I actually do like Amari Cooper this week. And I like Njoku and Chubb. So that's who I would play from Cleveland side.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the play, but it's not a bad. I mean, like, Amari Cooper's been so good where it's not worth benching him.
So Rudy says that when Jefferson had 2 bad games, he got him for James Robinson and Sutton. That's an awesome trade. And then he says veto should only be for collusion, in my opinion. I think veto should be for unfair trades too, because sometimes you could take advantage of a league member who doesn't know fantasy as well. So if a trade is really going to stack up a team, you could throw a veto out there.
I'm a league manager, and a couple weeks ago, it was Jeff Wilson straight up for Dalvin Cook. And I was like, guys, like, Jeff Wilson's going to be a backup in a couple weeks. And they said, all right, well, guess what? We all paid money, so we have to vote. And we needed one more veto for it to go through, and no one else checked. So got screwed over on that.
Yep. All right.
Now team's loaded.
Fernando got another one. ETN and Pacheco, no PPR. No PPR. Damn.
ETN.
Play ETN. Yeah, that's tricky, but play ETN.
Just stash Pacheco. If he goes off on your bench, that means you got a league winner. Like, you can't complain.
What do y'all think of Latavius Murray being a possible permanent flex? I think he's going to be the feature back for Denver. I can't tell you because you know what? Nathaniel Hackett's a loser and he doesn't want to tell us anything and he wants to lie about things and he's stupid. Like, I have nothing good to say about Nathaniel Hackett and I don't really trust his running backs right now, like, at all. I don't trust holding a Denver running back. I have Melvin Gordon in one league. I dropped Latavius Murray in all my leagues because Melvin Gordon's starting today, and Nathaniel Hackett said he had a great talk with Melvin Gordon on Monday. And Melvin Gordon was taking away 40% of stats from Javonte Williams. So,
yeah, guess what? The Jets had a great talk with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is being benched this week for Denzel Mims, as I predicted on the show last week.
Yes, but Melvin Gordon is starting. That's
Melvin Gordon's going to ask out. I think he fits well with Baltimore. I want Baltimore to make a move on him.
From Scott Green, one more defense, full PPR, Denver or Colts. Thanks for the help. Play Denver. The Jets to me aren't going to put up a lot of points. It's in Denver. I don't think this is a high scoring game. I think the Jets win actually, but I think it's going to be like a nasty, like 16-13 or something very low scoring. And the Jets offense to me is one dimensional, and the one dimension is phenomenal. Breece Hall is phenomenal. He's great. So you are playing Breece Hall, but the Denver defense is legit. It's a top 5 defense in the league. So I think the Denver defense is matchup proof. Besides maybe like Kansas City or Buffalo, I think you play Denver every week comfortably.
I completely agree with you. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a battle of field goals. It's going to be that Colts game with the Broncos that you saw a couple weeks ago. The only way the Jets are going to consistently get in scoring position is if Ripien's turning the ball over excessively. But I don't think I don't think he's too turnover prone. So I don't think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see a lot of punting, a lot of kicking today.
All right. Who's the Jets kicker? Because I know McManus is Denver's
kicker. Greg Zuerlein. I have him starting in a couple of
leagues. Play both the kickers in that game. If they're a rookie or new to fantasy, if you do a do dirty, that's just foul. I agree on that. Experience it firsthand. That's what happens in leagues sometimes. Thinks Denzel Mims scores today. I wouldn't bet on it, but it's possible.
I agree.
So I think Brees will have a decent game today. He's at the point where I'll say he's going to have a decent game against anybody. Do I love the matchup? No. Is the defense tough? Yes, but I'm never going to bet against him at this point. He's matchup proof.
He's not going to have his best game of the year, but he's going to be very solid for fantasy.
If he's averaging 20 points, I think he gets you 15 today, which is still a solid day.
Yep.
All right. I got Mostert as my flex, so I'm not too worried. Also, guy dropped Henderson Jr., so I scooped him up the stash. Yep. Good call. Okay. Moving on to the 4 o'clock games. Let's talk about the Jets and the Broncos. Russell Wilson is out with a hamstring, missing multiple weeks. Seems like Britt Rippion's going to start. That's gross. Elijah Moore, I wrote little bitch as the injury is out because he does not want to play and he's acting like a whiny bitch of it.
Yep.
I don't mean to be rude about it, but it's just like, dude, like we spoke about it on Friday's show. You can't go out there and request a trade when your team is 4-2, best start in so many years. You're not AJ Brown. You're not Deebo Samuel. You're not a top 10 receiver in this league. You can't go out there and complain and demand. It's just so wrong.
He's not established outside of the New York market. He's not like he's at the end of his contract and the Jets don't want to pay him. He's in year 2, has the highest snap count out of any of the receivers and has the second most targets out of any of the receivers.
Yep.
I don't want to hear it. You go out there and you do your job.
Yep. I'm with you on that. So, so for the Jets, I'm only playing Breece Hall. I'll also play the defense on the kicker. For the Broncos, I'm playing McManus. I have to play Cortland something, but I don't love it.
I same thing. Have to play Cortland. Don't love it. Would play Brandon McManus. Would play both the defenses this game. Would play Breece Hall, and that's it.
All right. Houston Texans versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Waller with a hamstring is out. Foster Moreau is a good play this week. If he's on your waiver wire and you need a tight end, go get Foster Moreau. Hunter Renfrow with the hip injury is hopeful to play. Matt Collins with the heel is also hopeful to play. I wouldn't start either of them. They both have injuries. Is probably better decisions, and you won't know until like 3 o'clock if they're playing or not. Yeah, you agree? All right.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the audio. Chiefs versus the 49ers. McCaffrey's going to play, so he should be in your lineup. Earlier, I saw 2 days ago, there's mostly going to be goal line work, but I think it could end up being more than that. So, yes, play McCaffrey this week. I had Jeff Wilson as my boom before the McCaffrey news, so there you go. Pacheco's taking the running back snaps all week. We've spoken about him throughout the entire show. So anybody else from this game you like? I mean, I'm a little nervous to play my Chiefs. I don't have Patrick Mahomes. You're still playing him, but this could be his worst game of the season, which will probably just mean he scores 17 fantasy points instead of like 30. Travis Kelce, you play every week, even though San Francisco's really good against tight ends. The Chiefs defense isn't good, so I think all liners are loaded up in your lineup, but that's how I view it at least.
So I don't trust any of the running backs for Kansas City yet. I think Juju and Kelce, I think you do have to start. I don't love Juju's play, but like I have him on my own bust. I don't want to play him, but I don't think Mahomes is going to have his worst game of the year. Last time he played San Fran was in the Super Bowl, put up over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it was very, very solid, or 2 touchdowns, whatever it was.
285 and 2 touchdowns. That was my notes from the bust.
Which I think is
it was an average Patrick Mahomes game, and he had 2 picks. Yeah. It was an average Patrick Mahomes game. So Patrick Mahomes is great, but you're not going to get the Patrick Mahomes boom 30-point game today.
Yeah, so I agree. I'm not benching I'm not benching Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think there's as big of a boom. And then on the flip side of the ball, I mean, play your 49ers, play Kittle, play Christian McCaffrey. Don't play Jeff Wilson, play Deebo Samuel, and Ayuk is a solid flex option if needed. All
right, Andre Arvello, Christian McCaffrey or Stevenson, 0.5 PPR, play McCaffrey.
CMC.
McCaffrey's got to be loaded up. We're already live for another 5-10 minutes or so, guys. We have 2 more games to run through. So if you have any questions to ask us, we will answer them for the next 5-10 minutes, and then we will hop out of here. So my Seattle Seahawks, go Hawks, baby. Geno Smith, I love him, man. I love Geno every week. It excites me. Actually, no, we don't have questions. I'm sorry. My eyes lied to me. Joshua Palmer's out with a hamstring and with the concussion. I'm sorry. Tyler Lockett with a hamstring has a chance to play. Keenan Allen with the hamstring is questionable. I don't think Keenan Allen plays, though. So, Nick, you won't know the inactive status until 3 o'clock. What do you do with Keenan Allen?
So I have him on my bench at the moment for Kenyon Drake. My logic is it's not that I want to play Kenyon Drake. Like I would have benched him for pretty much any player in the 1 o'clock slot. And my logic is they are on bye next week. The smart decision is just bench him, let him get healthy, let him come back after the bye, and let him be Keenan freaking Allen again.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Like if you have a good 1:00 play them. You've played this cat and mouse game with Keenan Allen for 5 weeks already.
Yeah.
Like, bench him for 6 weeks.
From Mitch, Kenyon Drake, Terry McLaurin, or Curtis Samuel for the flex. I don't love Curtis Samuel. He's on my bust team this week. I'm sorry, Terry McLaurin. He's on my bust team this week, but I would play Terry McLaurin because I think he has the safest floor and he's still a star over these guys. I think Kenyon Drake ends up getting outsnapped by Justice Hill, and I'm not excited to play Curtis Samuel.
I agree with Nick here. I'd go with Terry McLaurin out of any of them.
Okay. You said you don't want to play Tyler Lockett even though he is playing.
Yeah, I'm still worried about the hamstring. You do see, like I said this a few weeks ago, hamstring, groin. You have one of those two injuries, like, you are going to be hindered on the football field. The other injuries, you just have a chance at getting even further hurt. Like, those ones are going to hinder you on every single snap of the game.
All right. Aside from that, and we both believe that Kenneth Walker is a great play this week.
Yep. Smash.
Okay. Why CMC over Stevenson if CMC is going to be very limited? Because McCaffrey is the most talented running back on the planet. And I don't know how much he gets used, but if there's the chance that he gets used both in the red zone and he catches a couple balls, you're looking at double digits for sure. As for Stevenson, Damian Harris is apparently healthy and should be active on Monday night. I like the matchup, but knowing Bill Belichick, he might go out there and just throw Damian Harris out there for fun, and Harris has a 100-yard game.
That's very
I would just rather bet on Christian McCaffrey, who he drafted number 1 overall and who's suiting up over Ramondre Stevenson. That's just kind of how I view it.
I'm also not really buying the limited thing from Kyle Shanahan. Like, I know Christian McCaffrey. I know how you run. Like, is he a very good coach? Absolutely, Kyle Shanahan. Does he know how to run the ball? Absolutely. And he also knows that he gave a simplified playbook to his quarterback. There's no reason they can't go to a simplified playbook on 3 days' notice. And with Christian McCaffrey, it's run right, run left, check down, screen pass, like flat. Like, you just had to communicate what route he has to run. Like, it's the running back. He's close to the quarterback. Like, in a pure football sense, a running back is the easiest player to just plug into the lineup.
Exactly.
You don't need to learn too much.
Right. If you were trading for a quarterback, it's a different story, but he should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Sunday Night Football. Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Miami Dolphins in what I think could be a very fantasy-friendly matchup. Jalen Waddle with the shoulder is questionable. He's going to play. Pat Freiermuth with the concussion will play. Kenny Pickett concussion will play. And Tua Tagovailoa is going to start for the first time in a couple weeks. In a revenge game for both Tua and Brian Flores, it's revenge games all around. I think it's very fantasy-friendly. I think you could start Tua. I think you could play Tyreek Hill. I think you could play Jalen Waddle. I think you could play Mostert. I think you could play Najee. I think you could play Deontay Johnson. I think you could play Claypool. Like, I think it's very fantasy-friendly. The interesting thing is I don't know who gets the most targets and stuff from each team, but I think they're all playable because I think they all have potential to have really good games.
Completely agree with you here.
Now, I'm not saying everybody has a boom game, but I am saying that they all have the potential to. So, all right. I'm going to wrap up now. So if you guys have any other questions, drop them in the chat as I'm plugging the plugs and stuff, and we'll answer those questions. And if you're watching the replay of this or something, go to our Twitter, PrimeTimeFFPod, or Instagram, PrimeTimeFFPod, and you could ask questions to us, and we'll still answer them via social media. So if this is your first time listening to us on a Sunday, thank you so much. We do this show every Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We love to answer your questions. It's what makes Nick happy to set an alarm and wake up at 8 a.m, even after a long Saturday night. So we appreciate you guys joining and asking us questions. We have fun with it. If you want to keep listening to us as the week goes on, we do 4 shows every week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. They're available on all audio streaming platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast. If you'd rather watch and listen to the show like you did today, go to our YouTube channel, Primetime Fantasy Podcast. Drop a like on every video you watch, whether it's today's live or whether it's a video during the week. We'd appreciate that. And hit that subscribe button as well. We'd love to see, more subscribers as well. If you're on our social media, follow us, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, PrimeTimeFFPod, Facebook, and YouTube is Primetime Fantasy Podcast. So with that said, thank you guys so much for listening. Oh, we got a question. I'm going to answer all the questions until I say goodbye. From OD, Kareem Hunt or AJ Dillon, and Njoku or Pitts. So start with the running backs. I like Kareem Hunt's matchup more. And for the tight ends, I like Njoku more. So I actually like both of the Browns more this week. But I don't love playing both Browns, but yeah.
You said it best.
All right.
Out there.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for asking questions. We appreciate all of you, and shout out for you guys for helping us out with that. With that said, best of luck in week 7. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. And again, have fun. Hope you win your matchups. Enjoy week 7.